The orphanage gate creaked open at 3 a.m. Rain hammered against the pavement, turning the courtyard into a blurred landscape of gray stone and shadow. Elias stood motionless, his fingers white-knuckled around the handle of his leather satchel. He watched the taillights of a black sedan bleed into the thick fog until they vanished entirely. 3 years of waiting. 3 years of listening for an engine that never returned. He pulled the satchel closer, seeking the familiar weight of his belongings, but his hand brushed against a stiff, folded paper. He pulled it out. The ink was fresh. The date was yesterday. Elias stood under the flickering light of the gate lamp, his vision blurring as he read the lines. No apology, no promise of return, just a legal document, stamped and signed, stripping away the last of his ties to the home he once knew. The paper grew heavy in his hands, soaking up the freezing rain until it threatened to tear. The lie was gone. The promise was dead. He looked back at the silent, dark windows of the orphanage, then down at the document. He was not waiting for a business trip to end. He was not waiting for anyone at all. Elias crumpled the document into his pocket and turned his back on the gate. The courtyard felt smaller now, a cage defined by high stone walls that seemed to lean inward. He walked toward the perimeter, his boots splashing in the deep puddles. He found the section of the fence where the iron had rusted through, leaving jagged, needle-like points exposed. He gripped the cold metal. The first pull sent a sharp sting through his palms as the iron bit into his skin. He ignored the warmth of blood slicking his grip and hauled himself upward. His feet scrambled against the masonry, searching for purchase on the slick, wet stone. He reached the top, balanced for a heartbeat on the narrow frame, and felt the iron tear at his skin again. He did not hesitate. He pushed off, falling into the void of the alleyway on the other side. He landed hard on his knees, the impact jarring his entire frame. He stood up, shaking the grit from his hands, and looked back at the wall. The orphanage was silent. He turned toward the mouth of the alley, his pace quickening as he stepped into the dark, empty streets, leaving the only home he had known behind. The train station was a cavern of echoes and rushing footsteps. Elias navigated the sea of commuters, his head low, his breath hitching in the cold air. He found a metal bench near the center of the terminal and collapsed onto it, the iron frame biting into his back. He pulled the legal document from his satchel, tore it into jagged strips, and let the pieces drift toward the tracks. He watched them vanish under the wheels of a departing train. He was finally invisible, or so he thought. A woman stopped 10 paces away. She was holding a phone, her thumbs scrolling rapidly. She paused, her eyes darting from the screen to his face, then back to the screen again. She tapped the display, her expression shifting from casual indifference to sharp, clinical recognition. She took a step toward him, her hand moving to the radio clipped to her side. The static of the device crackled, a harsh, mechanical sound that cut through the station noise. Elias felt the air go thin. The trap was the world outside. The radio crackled again, a sharp, metallic sound that signaled the end of his time. Elias did not wait for the broadcast. He surged forward, his shoulder slamming into a commuter to force a gap in the dense wall of people. He ducked low, weaving through the forest of legs and luggage, his heart hammering against his ribs. Behind him, the woman shouted, but her voice was swallowed by the roar of an arriving train. He pushed harder, his lungs burning as he sprinted along the platform. He saw the woman closing the distance, her hand outstretched, but he swerved behind a support pillar, using the momentum to slingshot himself toward the far end of the station. The crowd thinned, leaving him exposed, but he did not slow down. He vaulted over a discarded crate, his boots skidding on the concrete. He scrambled into the shadows, the light of the platform fading behind him, leaving him in the suffocating silence of the tunnel. The roar of the station died away, replaced by the rhythmic drip of water against stone. Elias stood in the center of the tracks, his chest heaving, his hands trembling as the adrenaline ebbed. He looked back. The station lights were a distant, flickering blur, unreachable and cold. No one followed. He was not being hunted anymore. He was simply forgotten. He walked deeper into the tunnel, the darkness swallowing his shadow, until he was nothing more than a pulse in the gloom. He stopped, his boots crunching on the gravel, and faced the empty air. The weight of the last 3 years pressed down, heavier than the stone wall surrounding him. He whispered into the void, "Some children are abandoned twice, first by fate, then by the people who were supposed to love them." The words hung in the damp air, unreturned, as he turned and stepped further into the dark.